These 6 push-up variations will transform your entire upper body. Before we get started, drop your name and your biggest training challenge right now in the comments below. We will do our best to read as many comments as possible. Exercise number 1, decline push-up. The decline push-up is one of the most efficient ways to increase the intensity of the traditional push-up without needing any fancy equipment. Simply elevate your feet on a stable surface, such as a bench, a sturdy chair, or a step, and your body begins to support a greater percentage of its own weight through your arms and upper torso. Regular practitioners tend to notice a difference in pushing strength within just a few weeks, since this angle considerably increases the demand placed on the musculature. This variation shifts the primary focus to the upper chest and the front deltoid, exactly the regions that tend to fall behind when someone only performs the traditional push-up. The upper chest is considered the most difficult area of the chest to develop because its insertion angle requires upward inclined movements to be fully recruited, and the decline push-up delivers precisely that incline in a natural way. To perform it correctly, place your feet on the elevated surface. Keep your hands on the floor slightly wider than shoulder width, and align your body from heel to head without letting your hips drop or rise too high. Lower your chest toward the floor while controlling the eccentric phase, and push the ground forcefully on the way up, exhaling on the effort. Keep your core braced throughout the entire movement to protect your lower back. A valuable extra tip is to perform a scapular retraction at the start of the movement, gently squeezing your shoulder blades together before beginning the descent. This protects the shoulder joint and improves muscle recruitment in the chest, rather than allowing the shoulder to take on most of the load. A common mistake is elevating the feet too high right from the start, which transfers excessive load to the shoulders and can compromise your form. Begin with a moderate elevation of about 8 to 12 inches and only progress from there. Another frequent mistake is letting the hips drop, losing alignment throughout the entire anterior chain. This misalignment, in addition to reducing stimulus on the upper chest, tends to create unnecessary strain on the lower back over the course of the repetitions. For beginners, I recommend 3 to 4 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions, with 60 seconds of rest between them. As your strength increases, you can raise the foot elevation or simply progress the repetitions from 8 to 12 while keeping the same structure. Contraindications. People with active shoulder injuries, especially to the rotator cuff, or with significant wrist pain, should avoid this variation until fully recovered, opting for knee push-ups or incline push-ups during that period. It is worth noting that progression must respect the adaptation time of the tendons, not just the muscles, since connective structures typically take longer to strengthen. Exercise number 2, Mike Tyson push-up. The Mike Tyson push-up is a dynamic and explosive variation inspired by the lateral slipping movements used in boxing. Unlike static push-ups, it combines pushing strength with controlled lateral displacement, demanding coordination, core stability, and muscular endurance all at once. The beauty of this exercise lies in its ability to unite physical conditioning and strength in a single movement. This exercise intensely works the chest, the triceps, and the front deltoid in the same way as a traditional push-up, but adds a significant extra demand on the stabilizing muscles of the core and hips, since the body must remain aligned throughout the lateral displacement. There is also a relevant cardiovascular component, making this exercise an excellent option for those looking to save time by combining strength and conditioning within the same set. To perform it, start in the traditional push-up position. Instead of lowering and rising in the same spot, bend your elbows while shifting your body laterally to one side as if slipping away from a punch. Lightly bringing your chest close to the floor on that side, push back up to the high position and repeat the movement to the opposite side, alternating with each repetition. Keep your wrists aligned with your shoulders throughout the displacement, and your core always braced to prevent your hips from rotating uncontrollably. An extra tip is to imagine a straight line between your hands, shifting your torso along it rather than simply throwing your hips to the side, which preserves tension in the correct musculature. A common mistake is performing the lateral shift too quickly, sacrificing range of motion. It is better to slow down at first and ensure your chest descends in a controlled manner before progressing the intensity. Another mistake is letting the elbows flare out excessively to the sides, overloading the shoulder joint. I recommend 3 sets of 6 to 10 repetitions per side, totaling 12 to 20 movements per set, with 90 seconds of rest, since energy expenditure is higher in this variation. For beginners, it is worth performing the knee-supported version until you gain confidence in the movement pattern. Contraindications. People with shoulder instability, a history of dislocation, or wrist injuries should avoid this variation, since the lateral displacement increases the demand on those joints. It is also not recommended for absolute beginners who have not yet mastered the traditional push-up with good technique. If you feel discomfort on the lateral side of your wrist during the movement, it is worth reducing the displacement and prioritizing movement quality before seeking greater range. Exercise number 3. Pike push-up. The pike push-up is one of the best bodyweight exercises for developing shoulder strength, and it is even used as a preparatory exercise for those who want to progress toward the handstand push-up. What many people do not know is that this movement shifts a large portion of body weight directly onto the deltoid, safely simulating the mechanics of a vertical press performed with weights. For those who train at home without access to dumbbells or barbells, this characteristic makes the pike push-up one of the most complete options for developing the shoulders without depending on any equipment. This variation intensely works all 3 heads of the deltoid, with special emphasis on the front and lateral portions, while also strongly recruiting the triceps and the scapular stabilizing musculature. The shoulder is a complex joint that needs balance across all its portions, and the pike push-up helps strengthen the front and upper region, which tends to receive less stimulus from traditional push-ups. To perform it, start in the push-up position and raise your hips upward, forming an inverted triangle with your body, similar to a downward-facing dog posture. Keeping your legs as straight as possible, bend your elbows and bring your head toward the floor between your hands, descending in a controlled manner. Push the floor to return to the starting position, keeping your hips elevated throughout the entire movement. An important extra tip is to position your hands slightly wider than shoulder width and direct your elbows backward rather than flaring them out to the sides, which reduces stress on the joint and increases deltoid recruitment. A common mistake is letting the hips drop during the descent phase, turning the movement into a traditional push-up and losing the targeted stimulus to the shoulder. Another frequent mistake is not bringing the head low enough, reducing the range of motion and, consequently, the results. For beginners, I recommend 3 sets of 6 to 10 repetitions, and you can elevate your feet on a low surface to increase the angle as your strength progresses. Those who already have a good foundation can progress by increasing repetitions from 8 to 12 before seeking more advanced variations. Contraindications: people with wrist injuries, carpal tunnel syndrome, or severe mobility limitations in the shoulders and posterior leg chain should avoid this variation or adapt it by elevating their hands. People with uncontrolled high blood pressure should also exercise caution, since the position with the head below the hips temporarily increases blood pressure in the cranial region. Exercise number 4. Diamond push-up. The diamond push-up is widely recognized as one of the most efficient variations for isolating the triceps within the push-up universe, and it is an excellent alternative for those who do not have access to dumbbells or machines but want to develop their arms consistently. A study published in an exercise physiology journal demonstrated that close-hand exercises generate significantly greater electromyographic activation in the triceps compared to the traditional wide-hand push-up. This exercise intensely works the triceps brachii, especially the lateral and long heads, while also maintaining relevant recruitment of the chest, primarily the inner portion near the sternum. When you include the diamond push-up in your routine, you are practically replacing triceps exercises that would normally require equipment. To perform it, position your hands under the center of your chest, joining your thumbs and index fingers to form a diamond or triangle shape. Keep your elbows close to your torso throughout the entire descent, rather than letting them flare out to the sides, and lower your chest in a controlled manner until it almost touches your hands. Then return to the starting position with force. An extra tip is to keep your gaze slightly forward, not downward, which helps maintain cervical spine alignment and avoids compensations in the neck during the effort. Another tip is to consciously squeeze the triceps at the top of the movement for a brief moment before starting the next repetition, reinforcing muscle recruitment in that specific region. A common mistake is letting the elbows flare out as in a traditional push-up, which drastically reduces the stimulus on the triceps and transfers the load back to the chest and shoulders. Another mistake is shortening the range of motion due to the difficulty, descending only a few inches, which considerably reduces long-term results. I recommend starting with 3 sets of 6 to 10 repetitions, since this variation tends to be more challenging than the traditional push-up. Beginners can support their knees on the floor to reduce the load, gradually progressing repetitions from 6 to 10 before attempting the full version. Contraindications: people with elbow pain or injuries, triceps tendinitis, or severe wrist limitations should avoid this variation, since the hand position considerably increases pressure on those joints. If you feel sharp pain in the elbow, even mild, stop the exercise and return to the traditional push-up until you identify the source of the discomfort. Exercise number 5. Archer push-up. The archer push-up is an extremely valuable intermediate progression for those who wish to eventually perform a one-arm push-up. It trains unilateral strength in a safe manner, allowing one side of the body to temporarily take on more load, while the other acts as support and stabilizer, which helps correct strength imbalances between the two sides. It is common for one side of the body to be naturally stronger than the other, and this variation is one of the most practical ways to identify and correct that difference without needing any equipment. This exercise intensely works the chest, the triceps, and the front deltoid on the side, performing most of the work, while also demanding strong activation of the shoulder and core stabilizers to maintain balance during the lateral shift of body weight. To perform it, position your hands much wider than shoulder width. As you descend, shift your body weight to one side, bending the elbow of that arm while the opposite arm remains extended, sliding lightly along the floor as if drawing back a bowstring. Push back to the starting position and repeat the movement on the opposite side. Remember that movement quality is more important than speed here. An extra tip is to keep your body weight slightly tilted toward the working side rather than centered, ensuring that the support arm truly functions as a stabilizer and not as the primary mover. A common mistake is letting the hips rotate during the lateral displacement, which takes tension away from the working arm. Another frequent mistake is not fully extending the support arm, reducing the range of motion and the stretching benefit on that side. For beginners, I recommend 3 sets of 4 to 6 repetitions per side, with a good rest between sets, since this variation demands a great deal from the stabilizing musculature. You will know you are doing it correctly when you feel a strong burn on the working side and relative ease on the support side. Contraindications: people with shoulder injuries, joint instability, or a history of dislocation should avoid this variation until they have regained sufficient strength, opting for bilateral variations in the meantime. People with a very large strength difference between the two sides of their body should also progress with caution, prioritizing the weaker side in the first repetitions of each set. Exercise number 6, Spider-Man push-up. The Spider-Man push-up combines the traditional pushing movement with an extra component of rotation and hip flexion, receiving its name precisely because of its visual resemblance to the character climbing surfaces. This exercise is an excellent way to make the traditional push-up more complete, adding core work to the chest, shoulder, and tricep stimulus. Regular practitioners tend to notice that this variation also improves coordination between the upper and lower limbs, a skill that transfers to many other everyday movements, such as squatting while carrying something in your hands. This exercise intensely works the chest, the triceps, and the front deltoid in the same way as the traditional push-up, but adds significant activation of the core, especially the oblique muscles, while also requiring hip flexibility and mobility throughout the movement. To perform it, start in the traditional push-up position. During the descent phase, bring one knee toward the corresponding elbow on the same side, keeping the hips stable and without letting them drop. Return the leg to the starting position as you push your body back up, alternating sides with each repetition. A valuable extra tip is to synchronize your breathing with the movement, exhaling as you bring your knee to your elbow and push your body upward, which helps keep your core more activated throughout the entire execution. A common mistake is letting the hips rise or drop excessively when moving the leg, losing spinal alignment. Another frequent mistake is moving the leg too quickly and without control, which reduces core muscle recruitment and increases the risk of losing balance. Going slowly at first, prioritizing the mind-to-muscle connection, tends to produce much better results than trying to speed up the pace from the very first session. I recommend 3 sets of 8 to 12 total repetitions, alternating sides with each push-up, with 60 seconds of rest between sets. To progress, gradually increase repetitions from 8 to 12 before seeking more challenging variations. If the goal is to prioritize the core even further, it is possible to add a brief pause at the moment the knee meets the elbow, increasing the time under tension of the abdominal musculature without needing any extra load. Contraindications: people with hip mobility limitations, acute lower back pain, or recent knee injuries should avoid this variation, opting for the traditional push-up without the rotation component until fully recovered. Pregnant individuals should also avoid this exercise, prioritizing more stable variations without hip rotation. Bonus exercise: bottom position isometric push-up hold. The bottom position isometric push-up hold is a simple but extremely effective exercise for developing muscular endurance and body control. Instead of continuous repetitions, the focus here is time under tension, holding the body still close to the floor, at the most challenging position of the traditional push-up. I have observed that practitioners who include isometric holds in their routine tend to report greater stability and control in other pushing exercises. This exercise intensely works the chest, the triceps, and the front deltoid in the same way as the bottom phase of a traditional push-up descent, while also demanding strong activation of the core and lower back stabilizers to keep the body aligned throughout the entire hold. To perform it, Lower yourself to the bottom position of the push-up, with your chest a few inches from the floor without fully resting on it, and hold that position for the designated time. The elbows should stay close to the torso, and the body must remain in a straight line from heel to head, exactly as in the starting and finishing position of a full push-up. An extra tip is to keep your breathing controlled and steady throughout the isometric hold, avoiding holding your breath, which helps you sustain the position for longer without unnecessary fatigue. A common mistake is letting the hips drop or rise during the hold, which removes tension from the target musculature and overloads the lower back. Another frequent mistake is resting the chest on the floor during the hold, which completely defeats the purpose of the exercise. For beginners, I recommend starting with 3 sets of 15 to 20 seconds, increasing the time from 20 to 30 seconds as muscular endurance improves. For those who already have a solid foundation, it is possible to progress the time from 30 to 45 seconds before seeking more advanced variations. Contraindications: people with shoulder, wrist, or elbow injuries, as well as those who experience lower back pain when maintaining trunk alignment for extended periods, should avoid this variation or significantly reduce the hold time. People with uncontrolled high blood pressure should also pay extra attention, since isometric exercises tend to raise blood pressure more sharply than dynamic movements, even when performed for a short duration. If you enjoyed this and want to see 6 isometric exercises to double your leg strength without damaging your joints with endless repetitions, we have a video appearing on screen right now showing each one of them in detail. Make sure to check it out. Thank you for watching all the way through, and God bless you, my friend.